So today we're going to talk about lessons learned and what I would have done differently when it came time to purchase my second truck. So currently I just purchased my third truck. So now I'm looking back and I'm like, I should have done this on my second truck. Um, my third truck I'm purchasing from Freightliner truck center companies up in Minnesota. They also have a location in Nebraska, Lincoln, Nebraska. They do a lot of work with Crete. Crete's a major customer for them. But I'm buying a 2022 Peterbilt 579 from Freightliner, which is, a little bit different because obviously it's not a Freightliner. We got light problems. Let's try this. All right. So what I would do differently is, I would have traded my first truck in when it came time to purchase a second truck. I think that'd be a good way to go. I talked to the salesperson, Chris Hart, up in Minnesota, who I recommend, and he said they take trade-ins, any mileage. So even if you had 700,000 miles or 750,000 miles, they'd still take it. Um, you can apply it towards your down payment on the truck. Now, what I would do, or what I would recommend, is you get 20% of the down payment for the truck. So if it's $100,000 truck, then you're going to need 25,000. I just purchased an $80,000 truck and I put down 20,000. And the reason for that, sizable down payment is so that your loan application gets approved. The lender's going to want to see a significant down payment. So 20% down payment is pretty good. Now 20% of 80 is actually 16,000, but I'm putting down 20,000. And it lowers your monthly truck payment. So if you put down a good down payment, then I think that's going to work out great for you. Now when you have your first truck, typically you're going to purchase that truck from Crete, but not always. But generally speaking, that's how most guys do it. So they got the truck through the Crete Truck Purchase Program, and when you get that truck paid off and you go trade it in, I mean, you don't have to pay it off to trade it in, but if you do have it paid off and trade it in, you can get a credit reference letter from Capital Casualty. Nice little letter. It says you made all your payments on time. See, the problem is Crete and Capital Casualty don't report your credit payments to any of the credit bureaus. Why? It's because it costs money, and Crete is very, I'll say, thrifty or cost sensitive, or in other words, cheap. you know, and they're not going to spend money reporting your truck payments. Instead, they'll craft that they call a credit reference letter. It's a nice, but it doesn't do you a lot of good when you go buy your second truck or even your third truck. Um, when I start making payments now on my third truck, because it's not financed through Crete, it's financed through the dealer, that it's being reported through a payment service called PayNet. And PayNet is going to report it to my business credit report. So I'll be building business credit. That's going to be very important for future truck purchases, because when you go to buy a truck in the real world, not from Crete, but in the real world, they pull your business credit report and your personal credit report, and they're going to want to see all those truck payments on that credit report. So in hindsight, I should have purchased my second truck from a dealership and not from Crete. But it was during the pandemic, and all the truck prices were over $100,000. And I mean, it's really hard to even get a truck. And Crete made a truck available for me, so I'm thankful for them for doing that. But again, in hindsight, I would have preferred all those payments to be reported through PayNet onto my business credit report. But it is what it is. And I think you can get a better truck if you buy from a dealership. The dealer does invest some effort into getting the truck road ready from day one. I mean, they have it fully detailed. Even the engine is kind of spotless. It's probably steam cleaned. So you get that trade in. I mean, what are you going to do with your first truck? You could try to sell it on your own, or you're going to let Crete sell it. Crete's not going to give you any money for that truck. And when they sell it, they have a network of buyers. They'll get you wholesale or auction price for your truck. That's it. So what do you have to lose by trading it in? If you need 20% down payment and your first truck can be applied towards that, that might get you halfway there, or at least part of the way there. So you wouldn't necessarily have to have 20,000 down payment. You would have 10 or 15,000 down payment plus your trade-in. That's the quickest, easiest way to do it. And if you like Freightliner, there's no better place to get another one than from this truck center companies who Crete deals with. If you tell them you're with Crete, you're at least on with Crete, they treat you like royalty. I think they treated me very, very well. You want to purchase that truck in Nebraska or have it delivered to Nebraska, have it delivered to their location in Lincoln. That'll save you on sales tax. If you buy it from your home state or some other state, you have to check with your accountant and see whether or not you have to pay sales tax. But because you're with a big box carrier, the carrier is based in Lincoln, Nebraska, you generally don't have to pay sales tax. However, there are many requirements. Like I live in Texas, and if I bought a truck in Texas, I would have to pay Texas sales tax, like 8%. I mean, it's a huge amount. However, if I'm leased on a big box carrier in Nebraska, I don't have to pay sales tax in Texas if my first load is not in Texas, if that makes sense. Like, I guess you'd bobtail to Oklahoma and pick up a load, but something like that. Every state has their own quirky little thing. So I bought this third truck in Minnesota. Minnesota has sales tax, but I'm having it delivered for free to Lincoln, Nebraska, and I'll have proof of delivery that the truck was delivered in Nebraska. So when I take possession of the truck, it's in Nebraska, and I don't have to pay sales tax. So that's very helpful. So we talked about paying that. We talked about capital casualty. We talked about building credit. We talked about sales tax. We talked about down payment. We talked about trade-ins. I think, just by equipment comparison, I think you can get better equipment from the dealer. You may get lucky and find a truck that's been traded in with only 300,000 miles or 350,000 miles. It may already have a grill guard and an APU. You can't get that when you purchase a second Crete truck. You're repeating your buying behavior when you purchase your second truck through Crete. You're just repeating what you did on the first time. So if you had to go purchase an APU on your own, that could be upwards of $15,000. And a grill guard, if you had to go buy one, it could be $3,000. But if the truck comes with that, then you save all that money. So you could actually make it part of your truck loan. So, and then Crete puts retread tires on their trucks, and the dealer puts brand new virgin tires on their truck. So dollar for dollar, pound for pound, you're getting better bang for the buck buying it from the dealer than you are from Crete. Why are you keep buying trucks from Crete? Is it just because it's easy and convenient? I think you have better opportunity, to buy it, from a dealer than to buy it from Crete. It's okay to buy the first one from Crete. That's perfectly fine. I think that's what the program's designed for. The Crete truck purchase program is designed for the first time truck buyer, first time owner operator. But your second truck, I would recommend you buy it from a dealer. Trade your first truck in and buy your second truck from the dealer. If you want a Peterbilt, call Chris Hart up in Minnesota, and I'll see if I can put his contact information in the description. We're done. They get Peterbilts all the time, trade-ins. So if you're 6 months out from purchasing your second truck, and you want him to keep an eye out for any Peterbilts that come in to their network of dealers, he probably can keep you informed whenever they get one traded in. or an International or a Kenworth, whatever it is. All these trucks get traded in at all the dealerships. They're some guys, don't like Freightliner. They go to Peterbilt, trade their Freightliner in, buy a Peterbilt. Some guys don't like Peterbilt. They trade their Peterbilt in at Freightliner dealership and buy a Freightliner. It goes both ways. So all the dealers will have Freightliners and all the dealers will have Peterbilts. So they get these trade-ins regularly. But if I was doing it in hindsight 2020, I think when my truck had reached 700,000 miles, or nowadays when trucks are approaching the end of the warranty, I would start contacting the dealers and trying to line up my second truck. You really want to get that pay net, to report all your truck payments going forward, because over the course of your career as an owner operator, let's say your career spans 20, 30 years. Well, you're probably going to be in several different trucks during that time frame, and you're going to you want to be building business credit all. You don't want to keep buying trucks from Crete. You keep buying trucks from Crete, you're going to have that 18 cents per mile required maintenance count, and after your first truck, you don't need it. And you're going to have a speed limiter. That's annoying as hell. You got strings attached. You can't leave Crete until the truck's paid off. And they don't report your credit. They don't report your payments. So why bother? I think there's better opportunities going there with a dealer. That's what I would do if I had to do it over again, that's what I would do in my second truck. I would have bought it from a dealership. So I didn't do it on my second truck. I'm definitely doing it on my third truck. I'll be in my third truck next week. So and that'll set me up nicely for my fourth truck. And that's what we'll do going forward. All right, guys, that's all I got for you. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the internet.